You're talking about sort of major life events, but clinical depression is something that you have been carrying with you, you know, over the course of your life. And I know things got particularly bad in 2024.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, well, in 2024, I got to a place that I thought I could not come out of myself. As I said before, when I got into those situations, I would retreat. I might stay on the settee for days on end. Daniel would have to do the shopping. He'd have to cook for himself. I was just like a vegetable on the settee, but I just needed that time to kind of recalibrate or whatever, just to try and start to feel okay again. And you wait and you look for that kind of, you know.
And previously, that self-recalibration would have happened, but it didn't happen this time.
It didn't happen this time. And I just was sitting in the corner and I just kind of said, I can't do this anymore. I just cannot do this anymore. I'm tired of dealing with it and I don't want to deal with it anymore. And Daniel said, we need to go up and see the GP and see, you know, and I was like, you know, what can I'm on medication, you know, what can I do? Anyway, I went to the GP, thankfully, and he suggested, well, he said to me, have you ever considered a residential stay in a hospital? And I said, no, absolutely not. I haven't. Not for any other reason in that I just didn't think I was a candidate to go into a psychiatric hospital. You know, I don't know, maybe I thought you had to be, you know, completely off your head. I was just dead.
I think there's that thing, isn't there, you know, when it comes to physical health, there's this idea that, you know, you can be on statins or you can need a stent or you can need heart surgery. But with mental health, we seem to have this binary thing, which is I'm okay or it's at that further end.
Yeah.
But you then decided that you would.
Well, I just said, I actually was delighted because I thought anything that can help, because I know I've given up and I have relinquished everything to the powers that be, doctors, psychiatrists, whatever, help me now because I just can't help myself anymore. And I went into the hospital. I can remember the day I went in and I was in tears. I was in reception and a friend brought me in because the difficulty there already, you know, Daniel brings you in and people are going to be, oh, look, it's Daniel O'Donnell. Hi, Daniel, how are you? And I'm standing beside him like a bag of nerves and I was just, you know, rocking and kind of, I don't want to stay here, I can't stay here, I don't like it, I'm afraid, and I was crying. And then, you know, the doctors came out and, the nurses, I mean, and they were just wonderful. They were really kind and, you know, they said, you'll be okay. And they took me to a room and I settled in and everything. And that was all fine, but I didn't come out of it for like 3 days.
You couldn't come out of the room?
Couldn't come out. I didn't want to see anybody. I had nothing to say. I didn't want to eat. I just wanted to crawl up into a ball and die.
What was the turning point?
Well, when you're in the hospital, you have a team around you called a multidisciplinary team, and that would include your psychiatrist, a pharmacist, an occupational therapist, social worker, registrar, a whole team. And they meet with you once a week and they sit down and they ask you, you know, how you're feeling. And obviously the best thing you can do is just to be totally open and honest. But listen, I didn't care at that stage. I was, you know, like I said, I was dead. So they asked me questions. Yep, I'll tell you anything because I don't care anymore. So I would tell them how I was feeling, and then they start to tweak your medication in consultation with each other. There's occupational therapy, so you do breathing exercises. You might have sound therapy. You go to classes where they help your mindset and how to deal with that. So it's a whole, structure of other things that help as well.
And this isn't a quick process. You were in hospital for...
I was in 10 weeks, I think, altogether. Which surprised me, actually. Yeah, I didn't think I'd be there that long at all. But it took me 5 weeks to even phone Daniel. 5 weeks to phone my own husband, I couldn't...
Which, must have been hard on Daniel and the family, but also hard on you.
Yeah, I mean, I sent a text and I said, look, I love you all, but you know, the biggest thing is I've nothing to say. I have nothing to say to anybody. I'm just dead. So please give me the time to try and come back to life again and start feeling. I had no joy in life. I had no joy in my own grandchildren and my own children, which is a terrible thing to say.
Which is who you're living for,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely,
normally.
Absolutely, yeah. So, yeah, it took about 5 weeks, but I did send a text and I just said I need the time, but I'll contact you as soon as I can. And then, yeah, gradually I started to feel better. It was wonderful. The people that were in there with me were just really down-to-earth, normal people like any of you in the audience. You know, there was nobody, I wasn't in with anybody special. I was just in with all the people that were there.
But you're saying you weren't in with anybody special, but, you know, I'm sure that their families could have come to visit, you know, but it must have been hard for you that, I mean, if Daniel is coming to visit you, like, that's not going to work.
That wasn't possible. I didn't want him. I just did not want him. Because even for me, you know, they encourage you to go. There's lovely grounds. I was in St. John of God's University Hospital. They have beautiful grounds outside that you can go and walk around. Well, you know, they were encouraging me to do that. And I said, no, I'm afraid, you know, people will know me. And they said, no, Majella in here. No, they won't. I mean, the first day I went out, 3 people, Majella O'Donnell, how's Daniel and how is he? And literally just, you know, really not like me, but like froze and turned around, roaring, crying, back up to the ward. And I knew it. I knew this had happened. I knew people would know who I was. And I can't handle it. But slowly, the strength started to come back.
And there was a point then where you could handle it. And there was a point where that 360 care that you were getting brought you back to the place that you wanted to be in.
Yep.
And what was the Majella who left the hospital?
Oh, God, I was just...
Compared to going in?
I was the one that said, I'm ready to go now, you know. And they were, are you sure? And I said, yep. I actually feel a little bit of excitement about life again, which I hadn't felt for a long time. I felt, no, I want to live. I want to, you know, go out and enjoy my family and do it. So, you know, all I can say to people at home, if you have, you know, any struggles with and I'm talking purely, I always say this when I'm doing interviews, I'm purely talking about my experience. Everybody else might be different, but from my experience, it was so worth doing. And if you are that person who's feeling really, really low, go to your GP. Go to them, tell them how you feel, tell them what you need, and, you know, like, just give it up. I relinquished everything to them and just, God. Because
when it comes to mental health, we're all told talk, and it's good to talk, and this is something that we need to do. But clinical depression is a major depressive disorder, and sometimes you need professional help.
Yeah. You do. Yeah. It's not like, you know, I would be very much a positive thinker, trying to look at the positive things. I read loads of self-help books and I thought, Jesus, I'm still not. And when I went to the doctor, he said, Majella, it's like somebody reading a manual about insulin and saying, I read the book and I know why I should take it and I know all that, but like, can I not just do without it? No, you can't. It's an imbalance in your brain. You know, I thought about before I came on tonight here, and I remember my grandmother died when my mother was 14 when she died. She died of cancer. Can you all remember when cancer was never spoken about? It was the big C that everybody did not, as if they were disgusted that they had cancer. I mean, for God's sake, and here we are now, and there's cancer, and 1 in 2 of us are going to have it in our lifetime. 1 in 2 people are going to have it. And you know, we're talking about it now very normally. Please God, in 20, 30 years' time, maybe not in my lifetime, we will be talking about depression and mental health illness as if we were talking about cancer. There's no shame in it, and that's why I'm happy to talk about it. It's not my fault. Don't anybody ever feel, I'll go and tell anybody, yes, I was in a psychiatric hospital. Yep, I was, and they fixed me, and that's okay. And don't ever, ever feel shameful about it. I'm looking down the camera and I'm saying it to you all out there. Never feel ashamed for having mental health problems, because we're human. Thank you.
You know, listening to that audience, Majella, you know, and what you have said, and the love and respect that you are getting for coming out. You didn't have to. You didn't have to share this.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
You know, and I think it's going to help a lot of people.
So. Yeah, and that's actually something else I was going to say. You know, I come out and I talk about things like this, and I know I get the keyboard warriors, and I've seen them and I've read things, and they're horrible. And to people like that, I would say, you know, when you're critical to somebody on social media online, you're not criticising their opinions, you're criticising that person, and that person, without you knowing, maybe just hanging on to life. They may be very vulnerable.
A lot of people
hanging on.
Yeah.
Exactly. And your words, those words of she's looking for attention, all those things, they're not helpful, they're hurtful. So please think twice before you comment on people's, you know.
I know, before we let you go, there's something else dear to your heart that you'd like to quickly...
There is. I'm jumping on the bandwagon here, so excuse me, everybody. We have a lovely county there up in Donegal. It's a little bit up and it's out of the way. We have a small little airport up in Donegal, and it's a public services obligation contract that is between the government and the airline to provide flights to Donegal, because we have no trains, because we have no motorways, because it takes 4 hours, and that's driving fairly nifty. You know, 5 hours to get up home. And Donegal is the third largest county in Ireland. So from Malin Head down to Donegal town, which is barely inside the border, is a big, big county. At the moment, the flights that are provided go up in the morning, they go down, they go up in the morning, they go up in the afternoon, and they come down, which is fine. So people who are having treatment in Dublin for cancer, or they're going down for diagnosis, they can go down on the 8 o'clock flight in the morning, they can come back up at dinner time, at lunchtime. The hospital's always organised for them to have their treatment, chemo, whatever, in the morning, so that they get up in the afternoon flight. People that live in the islands, or like Arranmore and such, they have to come in off the island in the morning, so they get the afternoon flight. They can get down, they can have their treatment in the afternoon, and they can get back in the evening flight. So this PSO contract is up for renewal on the 25th of February, and they're proposing to cut out the lunchtime flight. So basically...
So people won't be able to get back.
Exactly. You go down in the morning at 8, you have your chemo, and you go to the airport and you sit there until 7 o'clock at night to get the flight back up. The people from the islands would have to come in the night before. That means they have to stay in, they have to pay for accommodation, stay overnight, to try and get the flight down in the morning, and then they have to sit all day. When you feel crap after you've had chemo, or you've just been gone down for a diagnosis and they've told you, yes, I'm sorry, you have cancer, you've got to go and sit in the airport all day. We are, please, 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 begging the government, do not let that second flight go. It is the lifeline of Donegal. And thank you for letting me say that.
No, that's important. It's important, Majella, and thank you. Majella, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for sharing your story. If there's anyone at home who feels like they may need to seek out some additional supports, please go to rte.ie/helplines.